Episodes 6 and 7 of X-Men 97 are on Disney Plus right now. We're going to get into what happened in both episodes and why you need to be watching this animated series, X-Men 97. We're going to do it right now. So we got Life and Death Part 2 in Episode 6 of X-Men 97, and we got Episode 7, which was titled Bright Eyes. We're going to talk briefly about both and some of the major beats and maybe some of the things that maybe you missed in the episodes. But let's start with Life and Death Part 2. We saw the return of one of the main X-Men's.
Professor X.
The man himself,
right.
Professor Charles Xavier, in Life and Death Part 2. We start out, so explain for the audience that doesn't know. I know a little bit about it, but the Empress, Lilandra, and the Imperium, we saw Gladiator. Tell us about what we saw when we first pick up in this space battle. When we don't see Charles Xavier right away, but we see a fight going on, and we have a couple of different characters, kind of go into what we saw.
The Shi'ar Empire is at war with the Kree, which people who are familiar with the MCU know the Kree. That's Ronan the Accuser's race from he's the leader of them in Guardians of the Galaxy.
So we saw Ronan right away.
Yeah, we saw Ronan the Accuser, which that was pretty cool. I didn't expect to see him in a X-Men show.
Pretty cool against Deathbird.
Yep. Which so they're at war with the Shi'ar Empire, and Gladiator kind of just rolls through everybody because he's kind of like a Superman level.
So it's the
character.
Shi'ar Empire versus the Supreme Intelligence.
The Shi'ar Empire versus the Kree versus the the warriors of the Kree, which I didn't expect the show to go in that direction. I mean, that was a little surprising. It was the first episode Professor X was in, and you mix between that and then the Storm and Forge story arc,
which was the second half of the episode. Yeah, so we have Charles Xavier who's going to get married to the Empress, Lilandra, and
who saved him in the original series. He goes off with her, and for all intents and purposes, the X-Men think he's dead, right? I mean, he just kind of goes off into space. They never see him
because
again.
He saved them in the previous show,
right?
While supposedly dying or going off to heal. But he's got an exoskeleton suit.
He's walking around.
Yeah, he's walking and not in the chair. So, and he's going to be getting married to Lilandra, the Empress, and obviously they call him Terrans. The bodies from Earth, and so she feels like she's not going to have favor from the Shi'ar.
They don't like
leaders.
Earthlings. They hate Earthlings.
And so they're having a battle that, and meanwhile we're having Storm trying to save Forge from a bite that Forge has gotten from the adversary, and so Storm gets her powers back.
Yep,
and
see that.
So for the audience that doesn't know, we saw a new Storm suit, or at least on the show, we saw a Storm suit.
Well, that's a suit they used in the comics, and they got rid of the mohawk. Yeah, I like it. I think it's
she's got the long hair now. She starts out with a mohawk in the beginning of the show, and now she's got the long flowing white hair.
And I think that's something you might see. I think you're going to see different costumes throughout the year. I wouldn't be surprised if they do like the next season's X-Men 98, because it's now officially been renewed for 3 seasons now.
So, I mean, it's been great so far.
So, and they may do. I'm not sure if they're going to go. I've read somewhere, I believe they're even going to go into the Grant Morrison era, which hopefully they'll leave those costumes out. But I do think they're gonna pull from different years in the comics over time, is what it seems like to me.
So Storm gets her powers back, defeating the adversary and basically getting the cure for Forge. So she saved Forge, and then Professor X, while they're battling and not accepting the Empress marrying him, they want him to forget, to lose his memory of all Earth. And so in the process of doing that, he doesn't want to forget the X-Men.
And he realizes Gambit has died.
And he goes into their minds, he's controlling them, and while he's doing that, he has a vision of Gambit's death, and he says they're all dying, right? Like he sees the end.
Yeah.
And he can't leave them, so he's going back to Earth. So we're going to see Professor X come back. And that's the end of the episode Life and Death Part 2, which is Professor X is going to be going back to Earth, and we've got Storm getting her powers back. And then we go into Bright Eyes, which starts with the funeral of Gambit, and Rogue's not there. Rogue's on a mission, and she shows up. First thing she does is she attacks a military installation looking for Trask. And then she ends up going, and we see Captain America.
Yeah, that's a great cameo.
And so she initially starts to fight Captain America, and then they stop, and she wants his help, but he's got to do things by the book. And we've got the Captain America that is trying to work within the rules and the order.
Which you could see maybe that could lead into an Avengers versus X-Men storyline at some point. Maybe. I don't know. There's tons of things they could be setting up. You really don't know.
But did you like how they covered Captain America, the voice, the animation?
I liked them. I thought they did a good job with it. Yeah, it was a cool. They've had some cool cameos outside of the X-Men I didn't expect to see. Ronan and Captain America now. So it really goes to show that they could broaden this thing with all different kind of, and they could have an entire animated MCU.
What'd you think about, we have Rogue going to find Gyrick and basically torturing Gyrick almost to the point where you think she's killed him. And so Rogue shows a more violent, dark side to this. Obviously,
well, Rogue was a villain at one point, is what people don't realize. So she's not goody two shoes. She's
not all good, and she's obviously mourning the loss of Gambit
and Magneto.
Yeah. And so she tortures Gyrick, and then we see the damage that's been done, the after effects, and the rubble of Genosha, and Emma Frost is in there, and Emma Frost survived by.
Turns into her diamond form. Yeah, I expect she'll be a major character.
Initially, I didn't know that's what she was doing because she almost looked holographic.
Yeah, she can turn into a diamond and basically be.
The animation was really cool around all that.
Yeah, she's a psychic, kind of maybe not quite on the level of Jean Grey, but she does have that diamond form. She's a cool character. She's a villain most of the time, but she does join the X-Men. And if they go that route, she has a thing with Cyclops. So I'm not sure they may. Maybe another love triangle there.
He went from being upset, like now he's trying to petition the UN again, and then they show up there because Trask is saying that he's going to show them something that they need to see, blah blah blah, and then a little bit of a filler there for a few minutes, and then Rogue basically drops Trask from the top of the building, and he turns into almost a super sentinel, right?
Yeah.
Trask body does, and Cable shows up to help him. Isn't exactly kind.
Has a reunion with old dad.
Yeah, he's not really there for the reunion, which I thought was kind of cool. It was well written, but helps him out. And then we see, you mentioned in the prior videos that we did that, Mr. Sinister is not necessarily who's running the ship here.
No.
And so we see Bastion.
Yep.
So explain to me before we get to the very end, who is Bastion?
In the comics, he's Master Mold fused with Nimrod, and then he becomes this.
And we saw Master Mold earlier in the animated season, this season.
Yeah, he's the big Sentinel that pops out other Sentinels. And Nimrod, you saw him in the earlier series. And he's basically this superhuman cyborg is what he is. He's extremely powerful, wants to destroy mutants. A good villain. He kind of came around, I think, in '96. So probably not as iconic as some of the other ones, but he was one of the main villains I expected to be behind it. I thought it was either him, Cassandra Nova, or Apocalypse.
And it went to, from our last video, the end of this episode proved your theory right, that Magneto is not dead. Bastion and Mr. Sinister have captured Magneto.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think he was dead because Professor X he would have saw Magneto.
Yeah.
If he saw Gambit, but he never saw Magneto. So
right.
I that made sense.
Yeah.
But
so we end on a cliffhanger with Magneto is captured.
Hopefully this leads to a new Magneto costume.
Not how.
Hopefully we'll get the all white one from the comics. I think we'll lead into that next, but we need to get him out of that unitard.
Yeah. We've got figures coming out of Magneto, so I don't know if I have hope that they're going to change it. But
what about the permanent edition of Nightcrawler? That seems pretty cool. He's in the intro now.
So
I like that.
He's in the intro. He was in the Genosha video when they first up to Genosha before the attack, and then he also conducted the funeral for Gambit.
Yeah.
So he's starting to show up more,
which I'm hoping
Great
somehow,
character.
some way, Gambit comes back, because that's if that's all we got a Gambit, I'm going to be upset.
And we have not had a lot of Wolverine. Yeah, that's the elephant in the room.
They need to do more with Wolverine. I get, like, because for so long it's been kind of well, after the movies came out, he became just
the guy.
He was definitely the most popular X-Men, one of the most, probably the second most popular Marvel hero outside of Spider-Man. Yeah, maybe outside of Iron Man too, but one of the most popular, and it kind of became Wolverine and the X-Men. So I understand why they're
building these other characters,
but they need to do more than what they have. I mean, he's just kind of
he's just a side character that is,
and he's way better than that. So hopefully we get a little more with him later.
That's the only downside to this animated series so far. The episodes that have been put out, I would give it an A-. I would put it in A level territory. It's not the best thing I've seen, but it is really, really good.
I'd give it an A. I think it's one of the best animated series I've ever seen. When
it
comes
really
to animation, good. I think it's outstanding. I mean, they're nitpicky things, and we'll have to see where it goes. Like if Gambit's dead completely,
that's not.
I'm going to be pissed. That's going to drop it majorly for me.
Yeah, Gambit dead and Wolverine having a small part in this.
Yeah, but I mean that stuff can be fixed, and there's some cool things they could do with Gambit. Especially they could do the Apocalypse story where Gambit becomes one of the Horsemen of Death. That could be something they do. Bring him back,
So I'm looking forward to how this first season wraps. I'm all in. I know you're all in.
Yeah, so far it's great.
If you're not watching X-Men 97, do us wait till the season's over and then order Disney Plus for 30 days or however long it takes you to binge it, and then cancel it.
30 minutes an episode, but
yeah,
I don't know. You got to call out a win when you see it. And so far it's great.
So far it's good. You got to check it out. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with us that we need to see more Wolverine? What do you like about the show? What do you dislike about the show? Give us your thoughts. Give us your feedback around all things X-Men 97. While you're doing that, smash that like button. Leave us a comment. Hit that notifications bell for future content. And most importantly, hit subscribe so we can continue to grow this channel and TCB.